What's going on, everybody? We are live. It is July 7th, 2025, here with my buddy TJ, and we're going to break down sports, man. We're definitely going to talk about the Malik Beasley gambling thing since we are called prop stars. You know, we love it whenever people get involved. We do have a little bit of MLB snub talk. John Jones might be hanging out with Donald Trump. I don't know. That sounds kind of cool. And then, of course, we're going to break down some NFL talk, specifically the NFC and AFC South. I think there's some bright futures out there in a couple of those divisions. But first, let's go ahead and talk about it, man. We got Malik Beasley, current Detroit Piston, right? Young player. It's no secret that he's had some issues off the court these last few years. And then now we find him with the lead story for the prop stars. What a big deal. TJ, break it down. What can we do?
Yeah, so obviously we're, diving deep, and we reached out to a source and he got back to us. I don't think this is very well known how much debt Malik Beasley's in. I mean, from owing $7,000 to apartment complexes, to not paying his dentist, to bigger loans like allegedly
$4 million loans, like massive loans.
Yeah, a $4.3 million loan he hasn't paid back. And I'm just like, man, I mean, I think we can all sympathize with falling behind on your bills, right?
Sure.
I don't think there's anybody in here trying to judge him for that. No matter how much money you've made in your lifetime, life can get overwhelming.
Yep.
But this wasn't something where he got caught placing bets on himself and it was boom, case closed. It was something where the FBI noticed a serious spike in bets on Malik Beasley. So for those of you that don't know, right, we're called prop stars. We like to place bets. What's up, Wu-Tang? Thanks for listening in. We like to talk about so prop bets, right? A prop bet is I want Judge to hit a home run today. If you bet 100 on it, you win 300. The over
wasn't he smashing Larsa Pippen?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. That's a confirmed story right there as well.
Yeah. And so, for example, this is what starts triggering the NBA, right? Kevin Durant will get 300,000 in bets throughout a night, right? It'll be over 24.5 points, over 8 rebounds, over 4 assists, and a bunch of first quarter bets. The prop bets are amazing on Hard Rock, FanDuel, DraftKings, whatever you could do. We can only Hard Rock, but it's amazing, right? So the bets spiked for Malik Beasley, right? It was like $10 million on Malik Beasley, 300,000 on Kevin Durant, 290,000 on LeBron James, but 10 million on Malik Beasley, right? So then the FBI says, hold on, let's watch this. Next day, another bet spike on Malik Beasley. Not only are the bets spiking, allegedly, but also the bets are winning at an enormous rate, right? So then FBI opens an investigation, right? Now, we don't know exactly if it was him placing the bets or not, but it's a quick way to pay off your debt, right? And oh my goodness, big picture, I wish I could sit him down and beg him, do not do this, right? And I don't know. I think that we have to talk about it because we're prop stars. But I also think that it is a bridge to nowhere, and it is not advisable for your career. I know I'm stating the obvious here, but obviously it's not very obvious because players don't think they're going to get caught.
And so here's the thing, right? This isn't the first guy who's been caught. The way he got caught is something that is like, you're not slick enough. Obviously, you're not betting on yourself, but whenever you have all of these bets spiking on you in one particular time, so you're not being smart about the way the bets are being portrayed. You're in known debt to like loan sharks and to like gambling people, right? Like
allegedly
factions.
$8 million in debt, from apartment complexes to dentists to Detroit's biggest.
It's unbelievable, right? And the fact that he gets caught up in this, and of course, this is all no formal charges. This is all an investigation. There's nothing that's happened yet. But like I was telling you before, man, I think this is the surface. I think this is scratching the surface. I think there's a lot of things that are going on in all sports especially with NBA. This isn't the first time that we've heard about gambling in the NBA, all the way from the Donaghy thing, right? And the way that people can fix games. You had the one, referee or line judge or whatever from the NBA with the Thunder and the congruency with all the wins. I mean, there's obviously a lot of patterns, there's a lot of talk,
Exactly.
and
And
it
not to
just
cut you
makes you
off.
think, right? It makes you
Yeah.
think that this is just more that leads to more.
Yeah. And not to cut you off, Buff. And exactly, that's the next question we'll get to. Wu-Tang, these guys aren't placing bets on themselves. They're not that dumb. But the FBI doesn't care who places the bets because the FBI already knows. So if you're getting 50 times more money bet on you, or you're Malik Beasley instead of Kevin Durant, that doesn't mean you're guilty. That means they just start watching, right? Right when gambling became illegal, or I'm sorry, right when sports gambling became legal in almost every state in the United States, the FBI the FBI has worked with these leagues, and they are the ones that kind of watch these spikes in betting. So really, basically put, Malik Beasley will tell his buddy, hey, I'm going to send you $500,000, put over on me in the first quarter, 4 points. I'm going to shoot 6 threes in the first quarter. We're going to get this money. Case closed. So Wu-Tang, these guys aren't putting bets on themselves. You'd be toast in a day. They're smart. They're giving
look at Shohei, right? And the way that he played it out and the way he had his confidant doing it. I mean, they say he was exonerated of all that, but I still believe that he was getting money. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
There was no way that MLB was going to let their greatest player, maybe of all time, greatest two-way player since Babe
get busted for gambling within the first few years.
This poor guy that didn't place a bet in his life has to go to jail for 4 years. But hey.
So all right, so another interesting caveat about the story is, as Malik Beasley is under this formal investigation, the Pistons go out and get Karis LeVert, right?
Yeah,
and they're making moves. Right.
Like literally almost to the T. Beasley, I think, a little better shooter, but LeVert a little more explosive.
What is it, 29 mil? 2 year, 29 mil. I mean, the guy's getting paid. He's obviously going to be involved in whatever happens to Beasley. I don't know if Detroit's really that worried, right?
You know what I think? I think that these teams get a tip. Like, they just know people, right? Like, if you're the owner of the Detroit Pistons, you know people.
Sure.
So they know this story is getting broken. I use the Deshaun Watson thing. There was no doubt in my mind that Texans knew about this Deshaun Watson massage therapist thing. And they threw out the Watson trade to almost every team, and they're chuckling in their office when the Browns take it. And then they're holding this information so tight, paying these girls off, saying, don't come out yet, don't come out yet. And then right when the trade goes through, pop, the news breaks, right? So I think that the same thing with the Beasley thing, right? I think the Pistons knew about it. And I think that it was, I don't know. Yeah, they knew about it. And then they go make some signings, and then the news breaks. And then it's mayhem. Let me ask you this, though. Do you think this is where the story ends? Do you think?
No, I don't know if Malik Beasley has a bright future or a happy ending in the NBA. Obviously, he's skilled and he's a role player, and he can definitely help a team get to a ship if in the right circumstances. I think that, unfortunately, I think character is still underestimated when it comes to professional sports, and I think there's a glitch in this guy's character. He's obviously had a history. And I'm not saying that your history defines you and everybody can make good on a second chance, but when you're still actively in this much debt and you're like squirming and robbing Peter to pay Paul, and you got these guys trying to pay off this loan and you're in trouble for this, like, you're still in Detroit and you got apartments that are coming after you. Like, what are you doing, man? Like, I don't like where he's at. I don't like what he's doing. And I wish him nothing but the best, because every man's their own man. You got to walk your own path, bro. You got to learn your lessons, and maybe you can come out and make it through this, get a ship, and go out and go talk to high school children about how, you shouldn't do drugs and get into gambling and go and talk about a life turnaround story, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
and what's interesting is that I think that so far we've seen the spikes in the NBA because the NBA, it's easiest to control your own destiny on prop bets, right? If you're a baseball player, you take over 0.5 home runs.
All right, hold on. So this is a perfect segue. Not that we're getting out of the NBA topics, but we get to do whatever the hell we want. So at this point, you also have Luis Ortiz. He had two bets recently on June 15th and June 27th, where his first pitch was either going to be a ball or a hit batter. And like you said, high spikes on both of these days. And on one of them, the first pitch was so short and into the dirt. It wasn't even close. And so you got
it bounced like 5 feet before the plate.
It is really bad, right? So this is also another guy trying to make some money and having other people put bets on him. God bless you. God bless you. With other things that are going on. So I mean, you do have the betting epidemic problem. It's going to be in professional sports. It's going to be with athletes, especially that are not as well known, that are trying to, that aren't big contractual dudes or that are in debt and maybe they got a little sloppy with their, gambling, or it's just like a guy who's trying to hit it big, because he has the opportunity to control an outcome and he doesn't think anybody's going to be caught because he's from Dominican Republic and is in 500,000 could feed generations. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why people do it. And it just shows you it's definitely more than one sport.
Yeah, but I will say this, in the NBA, it's so easy to control your own destiny, right? If you're a baseball player and you're a hitter, you got to get a hit. You're going to try to get a hit every play. As a basketball player, you can manipulate the stats easiest, right? Because if you pass to me, I'm just going to shoot, right? As a football player, if you're a receiver, you still have to catch the ball. You have to make sure the quarterback throws to you. Now, we definitely know quarterback and receivers are in cahoots when it comes to bonuses, right? We saw them
totally cahooting. Yeah.
We saw the Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield thing.
And Tom Brady, bonuses. He was always a pro player advocate with getting people over the money lines.
Yep. Tom Brady was known for, I love Tom Brady for this. Tom Brady was known for if he threw a bomb to you and you had a pass interference in the end zone, so you got the ball at the 1 yard line, it was 99%.
You were getting the ball.
Play you were getting. It was Gronk out wide, everybody in a bunch package, back shoulder fade or whatever, jump ball, whatever it was. And then he did it with Mike Evans all the time. He would throw a bomb to Mike Evans. If Mike Evans got tackled at the 1 yard line or a pass interference,
right back to him.
Next play. And you know what? It might not be the highest probability at that exact moment, but it builds camaraderie. And when playoffs come and you want to go across the middle on a 3rd and 4 in the first quarter in the snow, you're going to do it for Brady.
Can you imagine being an HC or an OC at that time too? And you're like, oh shit, he's going right back to him. You don't even call a play. You just let him go take the line and let him go do what he wants.
But there are so many. I always said with Tom Brady, his 20 greatest highlights of all time, we'll never know what they are, because there were so many things that he did great. And me and you have talked about this in great length, and we're kind of going to go off on a tangent right now, but it's like Tom Brady is such a leader, right? He was such a leader, and he did things that literally built, because he knew, hey, we're going to get to the playoffs. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. But he did little things throughout the year, like all these things that we just mentioned. Yep. And when the playoffs come into town, when the playoffs start, you want to run through a brick wall for this guy, right? Yeah. And then we see a lot of quarterbacks nowadays stealing touchdowns from their players.
Oh, I know. Right? Vultures. I
hate them. You should never run a quarterback sneak.
It's a hot topic.
First and goal from the 1 inch line. Never run a quarterback sneak. First and goal from the 1 inch line. When Saquon Barkley got you all the way down the field, right? And then you're going to run a quarterback sneak. Give the man the ball.
And don't get me wrong, Tom Brady was very heralded for his sneaking ability as well. He's one of the best QB sneakers in the game ever.
He wasn't doing it on first and goal when his boys got him down there. And it was amazing watching him do it. And that was a reason why he was such a winner too. But anyways.
All right. So NBA, right? So going back to the NBA, a couple other things. So you have the Malik Beasley thing. We'll see what happens with that. The other big news, you did have, at first it was like just reported, it was like KD to Houston, Kevin Durant, Durantula.
Yeah.
Incredible player.
Yeah.
Got a rings, finals MVP. Obviously, he's got every shot. He's got everything in the bag. He's probably the most well-versed player maybe on the court right now. Maybe Paul Pierce would have something to say to that, but there's a funny segment with that we'll get into as well. But so Kevin Durant is one of seven, or is one player of a 7-team trade. So there was Kevin Durant, Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Clint Capella, and then it's like David Roddy and Daquan Plowden. It was the Atlanta Hawks, the Houston Rockets, Brooklyn Nets, Golden State Warriors, the LA Lakers, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Phoenix Suns. I mean, they wanted to do a bunch of compensatory, a bunch of money, a bunch of second rounders, all these guys. They just wanted to make like NBA history and do a big trade. Bottom line is KD ends up with Houston. I think they were a 2 seed last year, if I do remember correctly. And OKC obviously was the one. They ran the table and they made it all the way through. And they just signed Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to a super max deal as well. So, they're going right after a repeat. But this does make them an instant contender. I mean, they get him. They got Amen Thompson. And they got Alperen Sengun. They still got Van Fleet. They're a problem, right? I mean, Houston looks good. H-Town and down.
They're going to be a problem. Like we talked, like you have a Doku. Or am I saying that name right?
Yeah, Ime Udoka.
Yeah,
Ime Udoka.
Great coach. He's got a lot of history with Kevin Durant. It's going to be an amazing team up. And no, Mark, you're right about the way the refs can manipulate also. Like the prop bets are going to be out of control. And you have refs manipulating stuff, players manipulating stuff. I do want to give a shout out to one of our listeners, Mark. He came in with his family last night, an amazing, generous guy and a beautiful family. And you can literally just speak the world about this guy, but extremely generous. But anyways, I think Kevin Durant puts him over the edge because think about it. I think Golden State might have been in the conference finals last year if Steph Curry didn't get hurt. Houston took them to Game 7. I think Houston with Kevin Durant, it's going to be scary. Now, we always say we have to have an asterisk at the top or something, not the Boston Celtics asterisk, but another asterisk saying if healthy, right? If healthy, Houston will be deadly because the only thing they did not have was a guy that could finish, right?
So do you think
droughts? And now no more droughts with Kevin Durant on the court.
So do you think KD plays 50 games?
I think he plays more than 50, right?
More than 50 games. Do you think KD plays at like a full workload when he plays? Or you think they conserve him for the playoffs?
And we talked about this on another show, right? Have you ever noticed like just it's a normal thing. You don't go through a buff because you have a blessed metabolism and you take care of yourself. But as you get older, you gain a little weight, right? Michael Jordan did it. Kobe Bryant did it. Shaquille O'Neal did it. Magic Johnson did it. Every athlete gains a little weight as they go on.
Luka Doncic.
Yeah. Luka started gaining weight at 19, but whatever, right? Who else? Yeah, Rafael Devers started gaining weight like 10 years ago. Whatever. But yeah, so but Kevin Durant, he
60, 65.
Yeah, I think 65 too. Kevin Durant looks the same on the court, right? He's got that wiry frame. And he hasn't gotten fat, no disrespect, but the guy looks great. And he honestly, you almost forget he's 36. Yeah, Barry Bonds. I'll go on and on. Every guy gains weight. I'm 44. I don't look as good now as I did 10 years ago, whatever, right?
Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't talk about my friend like that.
Yeah, exactly, right? But at the end of the day, I think that Kevin Durant still looks the same. What's up, Thomas? Thanks for listening. I think Kevin Durant has not gained any weight. I think if Kevin Durant, he looks like he's 27. He plays like he's 27. And he's still scary efficient, right? When we grew up in the day where Michael Jordan scored 30, he had to shoot 30. Kevin Durant scores 30, he shoots 12, right?
Right.
12 shots a game. It's amazing. He's efficient. And he hasn't really had that next step of aging that I have seen. What about you?
Man, I think KD is the exact answer that they needed. I think that it's not a team that's going to be reliant on him having to play ISO ball. I think that he's going to be able to play within the system, which is what he loved about him being in Golden State so much,
Yeah.
is there's actually a predicated system of ball movement and other guys that are also very talented that require double teams like Amen Thompson and Alperen Sengun. Like these dudes are going to give him so much space, and they got Fred VanVleet bringing the ball up. I mean, I think it's a little early to say, but yeah, man, the whole if healthy, barring, they should easily fit right back into a top 3 seed, if not 2.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
You
It'll
know
be
that Dallas is going to be there, but I do love what he brings to him. I think he goes off next year. I think this is going to be kind of his like stamp career year trademark. Let's make it a legacy year kind of thing and go and show you that not only can you be good for any team that you play for, but you can be the answer to get you to that promised land.
Yeah.
And I think that it's very reasonable to say if they don't make it to the conference finals, it's a failure. You gotta tell them like you're playing OKC. You know what I mean? Like you're playing, and you have to beat the likes of a Dallas. You have to beat the likes of a Golden State, the Lakers. Like you have to be able to get through them because you have enough. You have the youth. You have the depth. You have a defense, you have a coach, and I think that they're going to be a real problem. I do like them, man. Now, do you think there's another surprise run that's coming out of the West? Do you think something off the top of your mind, or do you think that, I mean, the West is just loaded, right?
Yeah, like we had a good conversation about surprises out of the East. The West is so loaded that nothing's going to surprise you, right? Lakers, no really surprise.
Everybody was separated from 2 to 8 by like a game. Wow,
yeah, there's not.
No surprise.
I don't really see anybody that. Now the East, you could have the Orlando Magic. There's a lot of fun things that can go on in the East, but the West, I don't really see going on.
All right, so that was just the biggest thing. So I think also they got Capella out of that deal. Jalen Green's gone. And the other players really don't matter. Dylan Brooks, another guy who's going to go and do whatever. Other big moves, right? So the Milwaukee Bucks, they waived Dame.
Yeah.
That was obviously Achilles, number 0, the whole correlation, right? Crazy. They waived Dame, and then they go and they get Miles Turner. And kind of crazy as a Pacers fan, and Halliburton's on record, like you must be sick as a Pacers fan. They were offering him $3 million or 3 years. I'm sorry, it was 3 years is what it was. He wanted a 4-year deal, and it was only like $60 million. And the Bucks came through with like 4 years, $100 million. I mean, that's got to make you sick to see him go.
Yeah, we got breaking news. Right, there's breaking news right now. There's a 3-team trade going on. I got ESPN over here. I got
Clippers, Jazz, Heat
2 going on. Let me see what's going on here. We're working on getting TVs in the background, but for right now, we're going to just do it from here.
We're going to have the whole animation, and tickers, and it's going to be people coming down like right here. You seeing anything? So either way, while you're talking about that, so you had Miles Turner go to the Bucks. Another big deal. You had
you know why they do that? It's just showing Giannis. Like we said earlier, we don't think Giannis is going anywhere because who's going
to we're on record saying Giannis saying he's not leaving.
Yeah.
All right.
We've been pretty spot on with our stuff lately, not to toot our own horn. But I think that it's going to be something along the lines of, hey, Giannis, look, we're showing effort. What else do you want to do? You know what I mean? Now you don't have to really, not like Miles Turner's a banger, but we got someone that can protect the rim for you a little bit. Shoot threes, right?
Well, honestly, I like it, bro, because I still miss, and it depends on how long you've been watching Giannis Antetokounmpo's career, but literally when he was early on, he was a point center. He would bring the ball up as a point guard and get players in position. And obviously they had Middleton and other dudes, but he would get people in position as a point center, and he was threatening the triple double.
Yeah.
And he was obviously scoring, rebounding, and him getting involved with the ball movement. I really like more because I feel like it just gives him that dimension to bring his player out. You know what I mean? Now you're bringing out the guy, whoever's guarding him, and you have Miles in the middle. Just as another
Miles Turner brings out a big man out of the paint.
Right, sure. He's also, because he shoots, right? So you kind of like that. That's another layer that they have. Jonas Valanciunas, of course, gets traded to the Nuggets and then announces that now he wants to go play basketball in Greece. All right, like that's kind of tough, huh?
He's a great. It was Sean Overman and I were talking about this last night. on a per minute basis, Valanciunas is one of the best. Like, he literally will play 19 minutes to get a double-double. He would be a perfect guy to spell Jokic.
Right.
I think this irons itself out a little bit. They'll just have to give him a little more money. I think this is Valanciunas playing a little hardball right now. And honestly, even if he goes to Greece, I think the Nuggets still somehow keep him on the roster, and he'll be back for like a playoff run or whatever the case may be. I know Rudy the Box said Miles Turner is ass or whatever you want to say about that. I think that this is just showing Giannis, hey, Milwaukee is still in it. You know, we're upgrading from Brook Lopez, who's, you know,
I mean, they won just a couple years ago. They got a 2-time MVP. I mean, they're not that far away.
You don't need much to get Giannis to the top, right? So I think this is just a way that they're showing effort, that the front office is showing Giannis effort.
All right, so instead of talking about Miles Turner as being a baby shit center, just baby shit soft, what about DeAndre Ayton to the Lakers?
Yeah.
So now that gives you Roy Hashimura. You get LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, DeAndre Ayton for your 5 in the West. That's pretty formidable.
Yeah, they got embarrassed on the rebounding, right? Gobert,
well, they had no depth, and I mean the rebounding, right? Gobert cooked them.
Gobert was going like 25 and 25. They had nobody that could stand up to a big man, and for some reason, I don't know why, but Redick did not want to put Jackson Hayes on the court. I thought Hayes played great all year, but they did not want to put him on the court. And Redick is a smarter guy than us when it comes to basketball. He did not want to put him on the court, even though they were getting owned on the boards. So they go and get a formidable big man, a guy that's got a little bit of a jumper, right? He's a little bit of like a, you know, he looks like I think he's like 28, but he looks like he's 48 kind of vibe, right? The way
DeAndre Ayton was the number 1 pick. Don't forget.
Yep. But I always like put Ayton and Greg Oden in the same category. Just like they grew too fast and something's not right. But Ayton is a very good player, and I think that it's going to be a good addition, you know?
All right, so you were talking about JJ, so let's go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room. So the New York Knicks, of course, lose a very tough series to the Pacers. Yeah. They immediately respond by getting rid of your head coach. You bring in another head coach whom I don't know if a lot of people are excited about the hire. You being our Knicks correspondent and analyst and expert, please break this down on what they were thinking and what do you think about the head coaching changes?
So from what I hear from a great source is Mike Brown wowed them in the interview room.
Mike Brown wowed him in the interview room. Mike Brown was also snubbed from the Lakers, was he not?
Yeah.
Remember his whole thing? LeBron didn't like him. Mike Brown made it back to the Cavs, right? He was with the Cavs. He's got a pretty illustrious history, right, as a head coach.
He's got history with every player in the NBA and almost every team in the NBA. If you ask most Knicks fans, this wasn't the hire we were hoping for when Thibodeau got fired. There's no doubt about that.
Are you upset Thibodeau got fired, or do you think Thibodeau is just? We talked about at the beginning of the series. He's an old school coach. Is he going to be able to evolve with the way the NBA is being played? And it looked like that he didn't make the moves in time, right? So is he aging out, or is it just a philosophy is aging out?
I think it's interesting, right? Because I always thought that NBA coaches didn't have much effect on a game, right?
Sure.
It was just the stars, you know? And the stars were going to dictate. I think the NBA is in a transition now. And that's why, look, in the NBA Finals, we were talking about TJ McConnell and Obi Toppin just as much as we were talking about Halliburton and SGA. You got to go 8-9 deep on your bench. You got to spell them in the regular season. And the coaches actually are a big part of the NBA right now.
And that's Mike Dagnall from the OKC, right? And how that guy is literally got the depth of the team.
Yeah, crazy. I think Mike Brown, or from what I understand, Mike Brown wowed them in the interview room. And I think Mike Brown's going to come out. He's been in the NBA forever. And I think he's going to come out and surprise some people. But it wasn't the big splash we were hoping for. When I was first hearing Mike Brown's name, I thought, man, does Mike Brown have a son that's like coming up the ranks? It can't be the Mike Brown that we've been talking about for the last 20 years.
I'm waiting on the junior. I'm like, maybe they just didn't have enough room on the teleprompter.
I'm like, I swear to you, I go, oh, there must be 2 Mike Browns. Because like, it can't be the Mike Brown that I'm thinking.
It can't be the Mike Brown.
And it is, but the guy's obviously, he knows his stuff.
And so you got Mike Brown. You immediately, as the Knicks, they go out and get Jordan Clarkson, and then you get Gershon Yabusele, right? Yeah. A couple of additions. Jordan Clarkson, we've seen him with the Jazz for a number of years. The guy can be electric. He can get hot. We've seen him, carry some loads there. And then Yabusele was from the Sixers. Just a big man, a double-double kind of guy, kind of ugly down in the trenches, right? He's got some offensive pop. Do you think these are like good, or are you just being reactive, or are you being proactive, like as the organization?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to show your fan base you're willing to win, right? There are
And
owners,
that you're not just going to take this L. You got to do something right away.
yeah, and that's all they're doing, right? And I'm going to say this. I'm going to go on a little rant right now, right? And Stephen A. Smith said it great, and it was like 5 or 6 years ago, and I've talked to you about this a lot. Stephen A. Smith was getting roasted on Twitter like 5 or 6 years ago, and everybody was saying anybody can go on TV and yell and be theatrical, and you don't know anything. You're a dummy. Da 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 da. And Stephen A. Smith came out and said this. You guys want to do what I can do? You think you can do what I could do? Of course. Anyone could do what I can do. Can you do what I did for the last 25, 30 years to get to this point? Okay? Follow me here. So Stephen A. Smith was saying, yeah, my job right now is easy. I could just talk sports all day. But can you do the mailroom bullshit? Can you get spit on, right? Can you work your way up the ranks? This is just like a general manager. There's no doubt me or you right now could sit in a general manager office and be a general manager, right? We could do it. Omar Khan, he's a general manager. I could be a general manager, right? But can you do what Omar Khan did over the last 25 years with the Pittsburgh Steelers? The answer is no. Do you see what I'm trying to say? You're working up through the ranks, right? So that's what the GMs are doing right now in the NBA, right? They're just trying to make moves. You know what I mean? They're trying to show their fan base. Now, it might not be the best move that they could do, but in like the course of a decade. But at this moment in time, that's the best move that's presented to them, right? With the Steelers. Is Aaron Rodgers the dream quarterback that the Steelers wanted over the last decade after Big Ben went? No, right?
10 years ago.
But he's the guy. He is the best option right now. So as a GM, you have to show your fan base, right? And you have to show ownership that you're willing to make moves that are well thought out and are presented to you. You can only do what you can do. This isn't like, I always think it's funny when, the Magic fans, they wanted Giannis, but they don't want to give up the big three, right? You just can't go, oh, I want this guy, go get him. It doesn't work like that anymore. Maybe in baseball a little bit, but in most sports, you got to fall under a cap. You can't just say you want this guy. So, I mean, it's just these GMs, they're just doing what they could do. And you know what? As long as you make moves and you don't do the same thing over and over and repeat history over and over, you actually can say the Pacers repeated history and they did great. So maybe that does work.
Well, I'll say this. Me being an on-record Dallas Cowboys fan, I've heard a lot of rhetoric and a lot of comments by Mr. Stephen A. Smith against the organization and the falters and the failures and the embarrassments and the monumental collapses over the last 30 years. I think the guy is very entertaining. He's very theatrical. The thing I appreciate most about Stephen A. that we could all use in life is his passion. The guy is passionate. Yeah. The guy speaks with more passion about what he does than just about anybody else out there. And whenever you get somebody who's piped up that loud and you can give him a little bit of entertainment value, obviously his work speaks for itself. He came up through everything. I still think the guy's
honestly,
and I think that I love the fact that he's a Knicks fan because I feel like it's God's karma for being a Cowboy hater. Because
he hates the Cowboys. I can be honest with you, most of the time he kind of annoys me and it's whatever. But I'm not gonna lie, there are some times where I'm like, I'm waking up in the morning and I want to hear what he has to say about it.
Of course, and I'm the same way. And I know most of the time it's gonna be a bad take about my team. And I love it whenever he goes to Dallas and sits inside of the stadium and wears his cowboy hat and sits there and plays to the crowd. It's all entertainment, man. But the fact is the guy's passionate about the New York Knicks. He's passionate about his team. And he's been on you guys for the last few years. He was saying he thought they were gonna get swept and this and that, and he didn't think they stood a chance here and there. But I mean, he has been somebody who's believed in your team. I think he's good for the organization. I think he's somebody who's going to be continuously good for sports. I think he's an entertaining figure because you can like him or you can hate him, but he's a polarizing figure. And I know that come football season, I'm going to get my fair share of whatever he has to say. So just to put a little bow on the NBA, the last thing that I wanted to talk about, obviously there's other moves. None of that matters. Chris Paul retires. I thought that was something that was kind of interesting. CP3, when he came out with New Orleans, he was unstoppable. And
I mean,
I'll never forget just watching him. Anytime he wanted to pull up, he was a bucket. The guy's handles are legendary. His passing, he was so slick and smooth early on. He was very clean and clever. He's always been a very cerebral player. We've seen him have these amazing performances. It's almost like he peaked right in front of our eyes that one game when he was perfect from the field just a few years ago in the playoffs for the Suns. And then immediately after that, it's like all the magic was gone. I mean, we've seen him on those magical runs. I thought he was an awesome player, a lot of fun to watch. And I'm sad he never got a ring, man. I was hoping he was maybe going to get one with Phoenix. He definitely had a couple opportunities and he couldn't just ever quite finish. Obviously, he's on a lot of the State Farm commercials and whatnot.
Yeah,
he's definitely made enough money. He's got a sneaker deal. He did it all but win a ring. What do you think?
Yeah, no, he gets a lot of respect in the NBA. And I mean, what can you say? You know, I always thought his grandfather,
Olympian, gold medalist.
He had that really inspirational with his grandpa passing away, and then he went out that day and he put up an obscene amount of points. I'm not even going to say how many because I don't know exactly. It's like I think it was like close to 100. It was ridiculous. It was a high school game, and Chris Paul's been a legend for a while, and we only wish him the best.
100%, man. So moving on, dude. We do have the NFL that we were going to talk about. We love talking about divisions and breakdowns. Last week it was the AFC and the NFC East. We might as well move on to the AFC and NFC South this week.
Yeah.
So we like to go over win totals, and then we'll break down or unpack each team from there. And we'll begin with the AFC South. So starting off, you do have the Texans, we have the Colts, the Jags, and the Titans.
Yeah.
I have some win totals. We'll see if you have the agreeable ones. The Texans are projected to win the division at 9.5.
Yeah.
You have that?
Yeah, they're kind of they're the darling of those four teams, right? I mean, good defense, decent quarterback, weapons.
They got Christian Kirk, Jalen Noel's their draft pick, obviously. They got Stroud. He's going to have a big year. They had so many injuries. They got rid of Diggs. They're still waiting on Tank Dell to come back. There's definitely the whole upside. 9.5, I feel is probably close. I mean, I feel like some of the games they should have won last year, they didn't, and they played teams closer than what they should have. But in that division, they're 2 games ahead of anybody else, at least in the beginning of the season.
There is a chance they could, go 4-2, 5-1, 6-0, right, in their little division.
100%.
Also, I think about that Tank Dell injury kind of a lot. Like it was just like watching
gruesome.
Flip back and forth like that, and like the guy is just such an amazing athlete, and a guy that relies so much on his athleticism. I just hope that somehow he could bounce back and have a career. But my daughter last night, I guess, deleted the Hard Rock app, so I'm like pulling it back up. But I think that 9.5 is very reasonable, just because the division is weak. I don't think they made many big moves. They don't have to, right? They went to the playoffs last year. I mean, it's not going to be the Colts that are going to win.
Didn't they get Chubb? I think they signed Chubb too, right? Behind Mixon, right? They got Chubb, and Chubb had that.
Fun, right?
He broke his foot, and I mean, they had no problem running the ball last year.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. I take the over on 9.5. I really like that over 9.5. It's like a winning mentality on that team. Who's the head coach again? DeMeco Ryans, is it?
Yep.
Yeah. They know how to win. They know how to put teams away. I think, CJ Stroud, a little bit of attention is going to be on him, right? Because it looks like at first we thought CJ Stroud was the hit of the draft. Then Bryce Young kind of came back. Right. Now you hear talks on which one's better. We never thought we would hear that ever again, right?
Never.
We thought, and Bryce Young came back real strong. So it's going to be kind of fun. Those guys will always go down in history as like, they'll be compared just like Winston and Mariota and, Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf. And just, when it comes to quarterbacks going early, when it's 1 and 2, and it was polarizing which one people had. Yeah. But I think
you have the Colts after that. And of course, they have your old quarterback from the Giants, Daniel Jones, and he's in competition with Anthony Richardson. They're at 7.5, right?
Yeah. So I think it's real interesting that Daniel Jones went there. I just assumed when Daniel Jones left the Giants that he was just going to be a backup for the rest of his career. But he went there. We know why he went there, right? He went there because he thinks he's going to start.
Right.
And I think that the jury is not out on Anthony Richardson. I think he's an absolute bust, right? And I don't mean that in a way where the guy just isn't good. The guy hasn't had enough reps. He can make the big play, but he can't be consistent. And unless they really just decide to run, he can't stay healthy, which, you always think maybe a guy of that athletic prowess can change the health thing around, but he's just not consistent enough. And I know a lot of experts are saying by the middle of the year, Daniel Jones will be the quarterback of that team, which I'm going to tell you right now isn't an amazing thing for the Colts.
They still got Jonathan Taylor. They got the 7.5 is tricky, right? I think that's kind of.
I would take the under on that. I think 5.
I definitely think under. I'm like, you have to prove it to me. And even playing their division, I mean, the Jags are supposed to be up, the Titans are up, and the Texans are the Texans. So I just don't know how they're supposed to sit there and like even more than split in their division if they could even pull a split, right? I got them at like 2 and 4 their division. All right. Yeah. So who cares about the Colts? You got the Jags. This is Trevor Lawrence's year.
Yeah.
Jeff Schneider his ears are burning right now. And he's probably going to get right on the keyboard because I know he has to be watching. He's been waiting on us to talk about T-Law. And here it comes. And this is the year. This is the one year that nobody's expecting him. So this has to be the year, right? They go out and they get Travis Hunter. And it's already on record that you have other people saying that offenses are going to try to wear him out whenever he's on defense. They're going to try to go at him and they're going to play him tough because they're going to try to wear him out if he's going to play two ways, right? And then you have this big-bodied receiver in Brian Thomas, right? And I think that he's going to be absolute beast. I think he's going to be the step forward. Do you think that the running game can rebound? Do you think that Etienne is going to have a good year? Do you think that 7.5 is fair for them? They're at 7.5 like the Colts. I'm like, I look at this. I think over 7.5.
Yeah,
I see too much potential. I see too much potential. And I definitely think I'll give Jeff Schneider one more year. This has to be the year for Trevor Lawrence. And when it comes to like fantasy value, which is what we're all about, I think that you could. I mean, I don't play in any super flex leagues. I did one time. We did for the Trinity. It's all right. I'm not big into it. I don't care about rostering that many quarterbacks that you have to start. And I think it's just too easy way to get points. I think Trevor Lawrence is a super sweet, super flex quarterback. I wouldn't want him as my starter in a 12-man league. But say you like stack all your other roster positions and you end up with T-Law, and maybe you do have a little, Brian Thomas. Like, yeah, absolutely. I could see a combo if you end up with him.
No, I think they added some running back depth. I think this is going to be a bounce back year for them. I think Trevor Lawrence hasn't really shown us amazing stuff yet, but we all know he has the tools. And I don't think he's really been super set up for success in that, it was from Urban Meyer.
They get Dave Canales this year, right?
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's going to be a huge thing. We saw what he was able to do with Baker. Obviously, and he's
the one thing that I've noticed with Trevor Lawrence, and I put this on the offensive coordinator a lot, and like Doug Peterson and that whole kind of a mess, even though Doug Peterson obviously knows offensive play calling. It's like Trevor Lawrence never can get like in a rhythm. There's never easy throws. You know what I mean? Every time I watch Trevor Lawrence, he's throwing like a 15-yard out to the far hash. And it's like, you know what I mean? Whatever happened to like, like a
Well,
tight
we
end.
know they script the first 15 plays. So in that script, why don't they have him doing a PA left rollout, little slant across, easy completion, 7 yards, like whatever, right?
Yeah, and
You're right. Why
the
don't
thing
they
is,
script more of that?
we're stating the obvious here, right? So I'm assuming that Trevor Lawrence is just like a home run guy. And I mean, Trevor Lawrence's highlight reel is probably better than Tom Brady's right now. Like, he's made throws and has gotten out of sacks that are amazing. But like in a quarterback in the NFL, you can be 30 for 40, or you can be 30 for 38, 37, 30 for 37. But those 7 plays that you aren't great, what did you do with that, right? Brady threw it at your feet, 2nd and 10. I feel like Trevor Lawrence, a little bit of a turnover machine, a little bit reckless. Can Canales dial it in? I think he can. I think Trevor Lawrence is obviously an immense talent. And I think that Jacksonville is trending upwards.
I think
But
they can
also,
take that division. If Houston doesn't come out and they're not sharp, Jags can easily take that division. I think it's a little bit up for grabs. I do like the Texans, like you said, over, but I love the Jags over a 7.5. I would definitely be putting some money on that. And then the last team in that division, you do have the Tennessee Titans, who I absolutely can't stand because they took all the records from the Houston Oilers. It's just really weird to me the way that some teams take all the history from another, absorb it. They had the whole Music City Miracle thing. I've never been a fan of the Titans. I always was a fan of Chris Johnson. Here they are just meddling and meddling and meddling. They've had a couple of years where they were here and there with, who was it, Tannenhill, right? And You got Cam Ward now, number 1 overall pick. But I just love, as soon as they say Cam Ward's the starter, you hear a media news a week later, Will Levis looks incredible in camp this year. And that's obviously to bolster your trade talk. Maybe if there's value and somebody else wants to go take a shot on Will Levis because he was supposed to be a guy, but it's also trying to let everybody know that, he's going to be a great backup in case of, Ward doesn't work out. I don't know. What do you think about the Titans, their situation? They still got Pollard. They got Tajay Spears, right? I mean,
what's the over-under on their wins? 7.5, I'm assuming.
They're at 5.5 is their over. And that's what I was going to ask you. What do you think? 5.5 is low, and you do have the number 1 pick.
Yeah,
you have a running game. You have a defense. They kind of play ugly. It was just a couple years ago they went on that run, and they beat the gauntlet of the AFC. Remember? They had beaten the Bengals, the Titans. They beat the Bills. They beat the Chiefs. They went on that little streak. Obviously, they're not the same team.
Yeah,
they had Derrick Henry back then.
Yeah, and I could see Cam Ward trying to squeeze out a couple games. I mean, I'm going to tune in and watch him. As a Hurricane fan, I want to see Cam Ward. I think the guy, I don't know if he's – well, the thing with Cam Ward is this. It's just like Bo Nix. The guy has seen a lot of defenses, and he's seen a lot of snaps at the highest level of football. And I think, unlike Anthony Richardson, right, which they're both black, and I've heard like some weird comparisons. Those guys are like so different. Cam Ward is not a run-first quarterback, but he's an amazing athlete. And Cam Ward has seen every defense you can ever imagine. He's a little bit like, he's like a little bit of an older pick, right? Because was like a 5th or 6th year starter.
Fully developed, right?
Yeah. And I think that is literally right now the most underrated thing that you could ever talk about a quarterback. And I'm literally going by just what I saw from Bo Nix last year. And it's just so important that you get to say hike and behind a center, right? Like in a shotgun formation, you see things, you know what I mean? And I think that is a very underrated, whatever you want to call it. It's something underrated that people don't talk about enough. He's seen a lot of
underrated attribute.
Yeah, underrated attribute. He's seen so many snaps at the highest level. So therefore, I think that I'm going to tune in, but the Titans have some developing to do. And I think if you're a Titans fan,
you ready for this? Oh, this is what I wanted to segue into.
Yeah, fire away.
This is the Titans schedule. All right. And they're at 5.5. The Titans start off in Denver against Bo Nix. That's why I was so happy you were like even talking about it.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
I think that's definitely, they're losing that game. Like, and that's I definitely like the Broncos. And then they're home against the Rams.
Yeah.
All right. And you're going to have Devontae Adams and Puka just balling. Then they go, they're home against the Colts, at the Texans, at the Cardinals, at the Raiders. Those you're like, okay, the Colts is a 50-50. At the Texans, you don't like. I will say, I know we're not talking about the West yet. I do like the Cardinals a bit more this year. At the Raiders, I think Ashton Genty probably runs all over him. I mean, I think he's gonna have a great day.
Yeah.
It's hard to find some wins because then it's like the Patriots, the Colts again, the Chargers, the Texans, the Seahawks, okay, the Jaguars, the Browns, the Niners, the Chiefs, the Saints, okay, the Jags. I mean, it's a bad schedule. You get the bad division, but whenever you see the likes of the Niners in there and the Chiefs, I don't. I'm not liking it, dude. I'm not liking it at all.
Yeah,
Five and a half is looking tough.
It's a harder schedule, but I could see Cam Ward winning some games out of that, and maybe they surprise us. But yeah, that's definitely as a prop bet. I'm not taking under or over. Like, you know how like we love the Jets over 5.5. Like
100%.
I'm
not touching that one.
I want to hammer that. The Titans we're not touching. You want to jump to the NFC?
NFC, man.
You know we're in the doldrums of sports when we spend 7 minutes on the Titans.
I'm telling you, huh? So let's get ready here, man. We're talking about the bright future of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I got
9.5 wins. Yeah. I don't know, man. If you look, the Bucks have won the division the last 4 years. And you know what? Every year they win the the first 2 years that they had Tom Brady, they were actually minus. But the last 2 years, last year, they were plus 700 to win the division last year. Like, I think this year they're like a plus 200, a plus 300 to win the division. I'm all about it. If I'm correct, I mean, I don't know if you got the lines in front of you. They're at 9.5. I think they got what is it? Emeka Egbuka, and they signed Hassan Reddick. They got a myriad of other re-signings. Well, yeah, I love the Bucks this year of that division. We've already talked about it before. I don't think they have a problem handling business, and I think Baker comes out and just is Baker.
Oh yeah, and Baker Mayfield was a Band-Aid quarterback to replace Tom Brady until the Bucks get their next quarterback. Now they end up landing like Baker Mayfield resurrected his whole career, and now he's talked about as a top quarterback in the NFL, right?
He's even making like the top ESPN analyst like fantasy bust list, and that's kind of impressive because nobody even had him as a sleeper, let alone like to go in, and now he's like targeted as a bust. I'm like, yeah,
I mean, it's well documented. I had Baker Mayfield in every league that I had Baker Mayfield.
It was well documented last year during the big league. I told everybody, guys, TJ is about to draft Baker Mayfield. Somebody needs to draft him, and nobody did.
And I'm wearing a Bucks hat. I knew we were talking about the Bucks today, but obviously I'm not a Bucks fan. But a lot of people forget the Bucks had the Commanders beat in the playoffs. The game, they dominated the whole game. And even though we just talked great about Baker Mayfield, he had some rough plays, right? He had that fumble. And there was one other play that I can't remember, but the Bucks dominated that whole game and had the Commanders beat. And with some crazy mistakes, crazy bad breaks, and Jaden Daniels rallying his team back, they were, you know what I mean? And I think the Bucks would have ended up beating the Lions too. Now back to the fantasy bust thing with Baker Mayfield. The one thing that scares me is the Bucks have an amazing offensive line and they have a 3-headed monster, maybe a 2-headed monster now, as a run game, right? So they might scale back where Baker Mayfield doesn't need to light it up. But this is a team that you could book it. If they're gonna win that division, they're gonna go to the playoffs
with the barring injury thing, of course. Exactly. Like there's no need that no reason they shouldn't eclipse 9.5.
You got Godwin win the division back healthy. You got Otton and obviously Mike Evans. You got a great offensive line. You got
Irving's going to ball this year.
They lost their offensive coordinator, obviously, to the Jags, but it looks like the guy stepping in is like another little protege of Canales or whatever. So I think that the Bucks, I love over 9.5. I'm saying this blindly, not looking at their schedule, but it's even hard to look at schedules, right? You don't know who's going to be good. The
No, you don't
NFL is
know,
so
but
crazy.
that's the whole fun about this point of the
Yep.
season is because we're, a couple months away and you actually have some kind of form shaping for certain rosters and teams and divisions per se. And moving on, yeah, we like the Bucks. After that, the Falcons are at 7.5.
Yeah.
I like that actually because you got Penix. I think London has a certified breakout year. Bijan Robinson. They still got Algier. I mean,
Is Bijan Robinson who are you picking? Like, is he your number one running back off the board or no?
no, I got Bijan. I still like Jahmyr Gibbs more than Bijan this year too.
Yeah, me too. I have Bijan like at 3, I think.
Bijan's 3 or 4. I mean, they got, Saquon is the number one running back, but he's being so grossly disrespected right now because everyone is just in disbelief that he can replicate such a season. When I think you and me, we've already made a case that there's still meat on the bone, that there's still other areas that they can improve on with Saquon. I don't think there's any reason that he couldn't replicate a year, even if it falls slightly short of 2,000 yards, that it still wouldn't be the best or number one running back for fantasy this year. But a lot of people just hate the same back-to-back guy. I think the last running back that finished number one was Chris Johnson, CJ2K, finished back-to-back years. It's hard to do as a running back. So the regression thing is very real. So I definitely would say Bijan's got to be top 3. I think that it's just crazy to me how they still give Tyler Algier so much burn in that offense. And like once they get Tyler Algier like clipping at 5 or 6 a carry, then it becomes a 50-50. And it's like you will see dedicated carries to Bijan Robinson, but once he gets spelled, it's like they spell him for 5 carries. It's not like they spell him for a couple,
Yeah,
and I think that's good. And he's definitely got the work. Man, you imagine if they unlocked Bijan Robinson to a 30, carry workhorse. I think he'd be undoubtedly the number one, but I think he doesn't get it because everybody's knowing about the Tyler Algier thing,
Well, yeah, and also, I mean, yeah, they're trying to protect their investment too. But yeah, okay, I will say this: if anyone's gonna beat the Bucks in that division, it will be the Falcons, right?
It has to be.
Penix, good friend of Javi's, obviously, and from what I understand, might be a fan of the show. Well, but I know that Penix really surprised us last year a little bit, right? There's no doubt he can get the ball down the field. I think that Penix will be a little bit of a fantasy darling also, right? You get him late.
If you're getting Drake London in the second round, it's not a bad move to sit there and wait and draft everything load, right? All your running backs, receivers, tight ends, and then snag Penix. He's like bottom, he's like below 15th quarterback or something on the list.
He looked really good, man. And he had that. What was that one game? Was it against the Commanders? What was it? I think it was a night game where, man, Penix just kept on moving the ball down the field.
He just darts the ball, man.
Yeah, I think that mentally Penix is way ahead of the curve as a second-year quarterback. And I think that we're going to see some big things from him. So the Falcons, I mean, we could be talking. I know we picked the Bucks to win the division, but the Falcons could be one of those like 11-6 teams, right? Like where when they're 11-6, we're going to be talking in December being like, we're not surprised, right?
Right.
Because the talent is there. Who's their number 2 receiver?
Behind Drake London.
Let's look really quick. I think that Darnell Mooney.
Oh yeah, there you go. They got Mooney now. And Mooney's been like
they have Ray McCloud, right?
Yeah, Mooney's certified. Ray McCloud definitely has a couple of breakout games. But I love Mooney into that offense, man. Like he was great last year, and he was like he had a stretch where he was dominant with Kirk Cousins for a little bit before he got benched,
Yeah, Javi says also they made some big defensive moves.
Well, I know on defense they kept Mike Hughes. I know he was a UCF alumni. I did look up his over. I was just curious about who he was in exactly his rating. I love looking at Madden ratings for players too. You know, whenever like you go through, it just correlates. Okay,
quick little segue. quick little segue. I was at a trampoline park with my kids about a month ago, and I ran into Devin Hester. I'm literally sitting down.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Do you?
And Devin Hester sits right next to me. Nobody knows who he is. Nobody recognizes him, right? Just because he's just low key. And it takes me 45 minutes to build up the courage just to say something to him. And he was super cool, class act. But I don't know if you remember when Devin Hester got 100 speed rating on Madden. First player to ever do that. And it literally broke the internet. And my buddy, DCAS, who works for EA Sports, I'm going to be very careful the way I word this because I'm not trying to but he was a very integral part of getting that rating. And when I mean integral, it was a big deal, right? And I just remember at the time, he couldn't say anything, but he just said there's big news coming out about Madden, and it literally broke the internet. Now, Devin Hester is also a friend of the company we work for, right? And he comes into our restaurant all the time, the Boathouse. And I'm hoping we can lure him on the show, right?
Yep.
And first thing I would talk about,
huge fan.
The first thing I would talk about is the 100 speed rating on Madden, which back then broke the internet. And then 2, if he was in the NFL right now, how much more valuable he would not only be a Hall of Fame kick returner, he'd be a Hall of Fame receiver because we're getting so many of those little shovel passes.
Well, I would love to hear his breakdown on the way that the kickoff coverage is now and his whole analysis of it. You know what I mean? Because he was just the master. You couldn't kick the ball to him, dude.
And I always think it's funny too with him really quick, just as we talked about, you brought Madden ratings up. So I want to talk about Devin Hester the last couple of shows.
Oh yeah. Hold on. Mike Hughes was a 75 overall, by the way. So not the greatest for safeties and whatnot. And that was in addition to Mike Ford, Morgan Fox, Leonard Floyd, and Divine Diablo that Javi wanted to talk about with their defensive acquisitions. But go ahead, Madden rating.
No, so yeah, you brought the Madden ratings, so we went to Devin Hester. But one of Devin Hester's biggest plays ever was when he didn't get the ball. Do you remember this? When there was so much attention on Devin Hester. It was I'll think of the team in a minute, but they did a punt. They were punting to the Bears, right? And Devin Hester ran on the other side of the field and pretended like he was going to catch it. But the guy on the other side of the field actually caught it. But people were so focused on Hester.
The whole team flooded.
Everybody went to Hester. And Hester's just looking for the ball like this. And he fake catches it as the guy on the other side of the field catches the punt. And the guy literally just pretty much, if I remember, he walked into the end zone. Because that's how much attention Devin Hester got. Because
it's unbelievable.
That's one of his most famous plays. The guy didn't even touch the ball.
Didn't even touch the ball.
Impact on a game, which to me is pretty cool.
It's kind of crazy how a special teams player really can, turn the tide of a game just like that. He was a very special dude. So yeah, there's your Falcons. You got the Panthers at 6.5, the Saints at 6.5. Talking about the Panthers, you talked about Bryce Young. They got Chuba kind of revitalized his career, and Tommy Tremble, right? They're tied in, and they got a bunch of guys who are making names for themselves. Young, scrappy team. Real big turnaround story at the end of the year with Bryce Young after they benched him for Dalton, and then he came back and looked like it was a very good bench because he looked like he was scrambling, he was running, making the right calls, everything, right? At 6.5. I feel that's kind of tough. It's 6.5, 6.5, 7.5, 9.5, right? So that's more respect than the Titans for their bottom two teams, only by a game. But I guess that is the respect. I don't like the Saints at 6.5. Just going right into it. I don't know why.
Saints.
I think that's an under all the way. How are they're going to win 5 or 4? I don't even know.
Still haven't made a move at quarterback, right?
And I just don't. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. So if I'm looking at this right now and we're talking about betting, I would definitely be putting money on the under of the Saints. The Panthers, I think that's kind of tricky. You know what I mean? Because that's probably pretty close.
Isn't it kind of fun though? We're not, this is the doldrums of sports, as you always say. This is a downtime, but I'm still excited to watch Carolina, right?
100%.
Why is the NFL so captivating?
How are they so good?
I want to see Bryce Young and see if he actually really did turn it around. He's an easy guy to root for. He's a great guy, physically very underwhelming, right?
Right.
But he's he's got a quick little twitch with his little, he's got a quick. He could be a Brock Purdy, right? I think best case. And it's so funny the way they're drafted too. But you kind of hope he could just be one of those guys that can make plays. And he doesn't have a Baker Mayfield sexy arm or anything like that. But there's just.
And he's like 5'10". He's like,
he's a small guy. That's what always worried me. And it's so hard. It was so hard to analyze him in college because you're just surrounded by talent, just like Tua was surrounded by talent. And these guys are obviously winners and they know football. But sooner or later, you got to kind of have the physical tools. But I think Bryce Young, he turned it around, and I'm rooting for him. And I'll be watching Carolina this year just to see if, now the Saints.
The Saints got Brandon Cooks back, by the way.
Yeah, which
isn't that kind of crazy? He goes and he leaves. He's 1,000-yard receiver every season. You know what I mean? Goes to the Patriots, goes to the Cowboys, back to the Saints. They also got Chase Young, defensive end, for a couple of notable moves. Obviously, that dude's a monster. Just tough in that division when the Bucs look like they're rolling the roost. The Falcons are coming up. You got the Panthers and Bryce Young. I mean, you got the Aints. I mean, they just lost, Derek Carr. That you could tell that really hampered them.
Yeah, Javi says T-Mac, and I actually had to Google T-Mac NFL because I didn't even know who he was talking about. But I was talking about the 8th pick in the draft. Like, is he gonna? Maybe he's a fantasy darling. I remember when he got drafted, people really like him. But yeah, I mean, Javi, to your point, Carolina will most likely be losing a lot of games, right? Bryce Young has yet to have like a true number one. And I mean, Bryce Young made Adam Thielen look good. So,
I think Xavier Legay is going to be that dude, bro. I'm telling you, man. He's just a monster. We talked about him last year. He was a sleeper. He had a couple of big games. He's got rapport with them. You could put that on the radar as like a receiver who could easily finish within the top 50, like as an overall top player. Like Xavier Legay could be that dude, like off of that team that nobody's even talking about yet.
Yeah, but McMillan is gonna get. Yeah, I don't know. I think the reason. I think Legay. I think he doesn't have the physical. He's too sluggish in my opinion. But he's big. He's strong. But I don't know if he's quick enough to really get off jams and all that stuff. And that's why he struggled last year. But yeah, but we'll see. McMillan, 8th pick in the draft. I think he'll be Bryce Young's number one. It looks like already.
I mean, he should be. Right? He should be the guy. I'm very, very curious to see how that works out because they actually added somebody else. And I know what you mean about watching you say is Legay. Watching him, he couldn't get a lot of separation. But he's got like great hands. Kind of reminded me of not George Pickens and like the absolute athleticism, but just always making tough catches. And it was tough because like you did have Andy Dalton get him, like he was actually getting some burn whenever he was there. But they had Adam Thielen, right? And he was just like balling whenever he was with them and catching all of them. I don't know. Tough team to read with the receiver room. Definitely looking forward to it. Something else in the NFL.
To watch.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Something else though in the NFL. We did want to talk about the Dolphins did get Darren Waller. Came out of retirement, kind of just like a little off the radar blip. When it looked like the Dolphins weren't going after older players anymore and they were going young and drafting, then they go out and reignite Darren Waller's career. Obviously he was last with the Giants. They had to do a little move, like a compensatory thing, 6-rounder or whatever it was, some money so the Giants get a little compensation, but they let him go to the Dolphins. He comes out of retirement. He obviously didn't have the career with the Giants that he thought he was going to. He had some things to say about that in the locker room. I'm curious to see what he's going to do. You have the likes of Hill, Waddle, A-Chain, Johnny Smith is gone. This is the refill. So what do you think?
I mean, I really want to root for the Dolphins, right? Caton's a big Dolphin fan, and I think that they have the talent to do it. But man, it's hard to like really see the vision here. It looks like if Tua can't be the guy this year, then Tua, like the head coach and quarterback tied together kind of thing, will both be out, and it's going to be kind of a new regime kind of thing, right, for the Dolphins.
Right.
But I just don't understand. Like, I think Omar Khan pulled off an amazing trade getting Jonnu Smith with Freiermuth for Aaron Rodgers.
let's just use that as a segue, right? So Darren Waller, he's washed, didn't see the move,
I don't
whatever.
see Waller playing more than
You're
games. Like,
talking about, and don't get me wrong, maybe there's a game or two that he could pop, sure. And with that, all that speed around him, you could definitely see the love because Johnny's leaving a lot of vacated space, right?
Yeah.
You do have Omar Khan. You mentioned it earlier. He's been in the league for 25 years, all with the Steelers, by the way, which that franchise and organization known for the loyalty. He's only 48 years old. His record is 29-22 as his 3-year tenure as the GM.
Yeah.
And a little bit of a bad note, they actually have 2 wild card losses their last 2 years.
Yeah.
Now he's got this big thing, TJ Watt. Is he going to reset the market? Is he going to resign? Obviously, you know that he doesn't want to be known for the guy letting TJ Watt go, especially if he goes and wins a ring somewhere. Omar Khan, congratulations on your new contract. I know he's a bit of a personal friend, and maybe we can get him on the show one time. Break down your boy a little bit. What do you think?
It would be a dream. Yeah, so I think Omar Khan, first of all, like what he's done for me and my family, an extremely generous guy, got us on the field during a Giants Monday night game, and just a great guy and a real humble, just selfless human being, right? Anyway, I think that this team could be scary, right? Jonnu Smith, Freiermuth, they're going to be a little bit of a run-first team, right? But they have DK Metcalf on the outside. And now with a twin tight end set, I could see them, a 2 tight end set, I could see them, giving Rodgers a little more flexibility than they gave Russell Wilson at the line of scrimmage, right?
Sure.
And I could see Rodgers just moving this team down the field. And the Steelers are taking their shot, right?
It's like Caleb Johnson, Warren. You get Aaron Rodgers, you got Calvin Austin, and then you got Metcalf, and then I think you said it right. And Jonnu Smith, like he comes in as a tight end, but like, don't you see them letting Freiermuth play that role? And Jonnu was like the mismatch receiver. You know what I mean, right? Like he could definitely be that. And if they do run 2 tight end sets, and I'm not saying it's Gronk and Aaron Hernandez, you know what I mean?
That's what we always think about. And I was going to
say that's literally the benchmark, right? So now you have 2 guys that both have hands. And Jonnu can take the top off, and Freiermuth is just sneaky, right? So how do you even defend that?
And now also the Steelers always have an amazing pass rush, right?
Right.
And now you have a Jalen Ramsey who is a up-in-your-face, jam you at the line of scrimmage defender, right? Extremely physical. And when you're a cornerback and you only have to cover for 2 seconds, that's like Jalen Ramsey's wheelhouse because he doesn't let guys off the line of scrimmage, right? Ramsey's one of those guys that you can kind of run past a little bit, but he's so physical and such a ball hawk. That's why I think they got rid of Minkah because Jalen Ramsey fits this defense a lot better than Minkah.
Minkah was a lot like Polamalu where he had to freestyle, right, to make plays, and that's all on your instinct and intuition.
Yeah, I just don't know if a safety moves the needle like a lockdown corner, right?
Sure.
And I think that's why I don't.
And don't get me wrong, Minkah made plays, bro. You remember when he went to the Steelers, that dude was in the end zone all the time.
Yeah, Minkah's a top safety. There's no doubt about that. But I think that the Steelers are taking their shot. That's what they're doing.
So do you think that this roster construction that Omar Khan has put together is the number one in the AFC North? And do you think it has the meat to be in that top conversation with the likes of your Bills, your Chiefs, and your Ravens, right? Are they the other team that's going to be in that conversation?
So tricky, right? Like
that's the measurement, right? That is the measurement of the AFC. It's those quarterbacks, is it not?
Yep. And the trick is if they're in the NFC, this team can really do a lot of damage, right? But they're in the AFC and they're
right. So that's a fun little caveat. So what if their NFC record that the Steelers always play the NFC great? So you can see them making a living off of off the NFC this year for sure.
Yeah, they're in a division with Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, right?
So
and
this is ugliest division
in a quarterback-driven league. But the Steelers are doing something a little different here. Obviously, Rodgers at quarterback, but they're building their roster kind of like how the Pacers built their roster, top to bottom, right? They don't have that sexy quarterback at the helm, but they have, as far as roster construction, way
Still
better.
the number one in their division, right?
Way better team than the Cincinnati Bengals. Way better defense, I think, than the Ravens. I don't think the Ravens. They say their secondary is amazing, but I always see the likes of Tua and everybody else lighting
I
them
see
up.
Jamar Chase dominating. The Bengals they
the Steelers, I think, are they're doing something a little different. But why are they doing it different? Because they don't have a choice. They don't have Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow, right? So Omar Khan has to be creative.
And such a son of a bitch, they're always in the middle of the road when it comes to their draft position. So it's not like they ever make the move to give up the farm to go up and get somebody, but they're never able to pick somebody because they're always 9-8, 8-8, always around the bubble, right?
I know, and we thought they were going to go after Shador, and now, I mean, it's crazy how the Shador Sanders story is going like this, but it looks like it's really trending down now. And supposedly you have Canadian football leagues inquiring about him, which to me,
this is – and in that division, I just don't know how you're Shador Sanders or anybody on the Browns to come out and be successful going against the likes of the Ravens and the Steelers, period. And then you're adding an improving defense with the Bengals. And then you can't even keep up with the Bengals if they score. So it's like you're just in a lose-lose there too. It's tough, right? And week one, I will say this with all that shit that I just talked, week one, the Browns and Bengals play, I think, and I would definitely take the Browns because the Bengals always start 0 for 2.
Yeah, the Browns –
put your money on the Browns.
They always start out slow, but they came on so strong at the end of last year, and everybody. I mean, you had I remember me and my dad were watching the Bengals play, and we looked at each other. And we're like, man, we really hope the Bengals make the playoffs. And we're like,
you just knew that the Chiefs weren't going to let them in. God, it still pisses me off.
I know that was so unfortunate.
Joe Burrow was this close from MVP. They were this close from making it in.
Yeah,
historic year for Chase.
Well, yeah, back to the Steelers, and we talked about the Dolphins. We're just talking shop here, having fun talking football. But it's like, first of all, the Dolphins, I just don't know what their vision is. But anytime you have A-Chain at running back, Tyreek Hill and Waddle, and our boy Westbrook Akini, right?
Nick Westbrook
Akini. Those are three. That's a receiver room that it's probably a top 5 receiver room, right?
Yep. Nick Westbrook Akine is going to go under the radar again and be a dart throw last pick of the draft. He's going to fall in. You could put me on record right now and clip this shit. He's going to fall into like 6 to 8 touchdowns just being on that team with Hill and Waddle. And 6 to 8 touchdowns is nothing to take lightly. Maybe he only has 400 yards. Maybe he only gets 36 catches, right? Or whatever it is. But he's going to get 6 to 8 touchdowns because he always does. And he's always in the end zone. It's so crazy to me when you watched him with the Titans and how he was the one player consistently getting open, making moves. He separates. He's got good hands, and he high points the ball. He's a great receiver.
Yeah, it's going to be – I could see him having some, really quiet games, obviously, and then some,
of course.
maybe a 100-yard, 2-touchdown game, right?
Right.
I think he's going to be –
That's why I said maybe 400 yards on the season, you know?
Great waiver wire pickup or a DFS darling, kind of one of those things.
Bye week fill in kind of thing, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, let me ask you this. Do you think there will be a team in the Final Four, right? So, on Sunday when we're in January, we're watching the AFC Championship, the NFC
At Kitty's, chilling with the boys.
Yeah, at Kitty's, chilling with the boys. Do you think that one of those 4 teams could get there without a top quarterback?
So you're asking me, out of the Final Four, who's the one team who isn't going to have the sexy quarterback that can make it?
For example, I'm putting Aaron Rodgers as not a top quarterback right now.
Right. Right. Like the Steelers, right?
Isn't a top quarterback. I'm going to say Herbert isn't a top quarterback.
Is Baker a top quarterback? He's not in that list of the short list of the big 4, right? He's outside.
I don't think Baker. I think Baker's outside. But hold on. Let's say but Baker on the NFC side is probably a top quarterback, right?
Okay. Because whenever you look at the top quarterbacks, they definitely all rule in the AFC.
Yeah.
Like the NFC, you get Hurts is obviously the number 1.
Yeah.
Super Bowl, Eagles.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, can we see the Steelers? Can we see the Dolphins? Can you see Jared Goff? Can you see one of those guys being in the conference?
I say out of all the teams that you're going to talk about, I think the Lions and Jared Goff have and I know that last year was a great opportunity.
So pretty much what everybody's saying in the AFC at the end of the fight, right? It's going to be either Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, one of those four, right?
Two out of the four are playing.
It's murderer's row in the AFC, and like
it's ridiculous.
If you're Omar Khan, you're just like, what the fuck are we gonna do, right? Because it's like, now what you do is what he's doing right now. You build a roster around, right? And you hope that the roster you build is big enough where even though you don't have a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, you can still get there, right?
Yeah,
very tricky. So who was it last year? It was Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts, right? I mean,
those are the top two. And then you had your Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, of course, or the guys that we loved and that were great values. You had them both on your team, ironically enough, in the big league. And they both had incredible years. I think Kyler Murray has a resurgent year this year.
Do you?
I think Kyler Murray's better than last year. I think Kyler Murray comes back in the conversation. He could arguably be a top 10 quarterback in the league overall, especially in 12-man leagues in fantasy purposes. I just think there's a lot of weapons there, man. The more you look at it. And I think Harrison has it.
You know what? Another random thought I just thought about. Jeff always told me this, and for how much I disagree with Jeff on a lot of things, I agree with him on this. He doesn't like short quarterbacks throwing to short receivers.
Sure.
And that was like, it's like a kind of like a real weird thing if you think about it. And it makes so much sense, right? Like, how the hell is like a Kyler
Doug
Murray?
Flutie could have never thrown to Danny Amendola. You know what I mean? Like
or Julian Edelman, right? And it's like, it's a real like kind of good fantasy rule to live by right now. Obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't a little guy, so it doesn't really. But like, I remember, I think I liked Ronald Moore. Is that how you say it? Was it Ronald Moore?
Rondell Moore.
Rondell Moore.
Yeah.
I knew I was saying it wrong. That's why I was asking. I knew something didn't sound right. And I was like, man, I love Rondell Moore. He goes, you know what? I don't like and I'm like, that's so true. Because like, and I think Rondell Moore actually had a decent game one of those times, but it was a lot of like quick throws to the sidelines, and because you can't get him the ball underneath, Javi says Drake May will start a playoff game this year.
How are y'all gonna? What? You're not gonna beat Javi, bro? You have a show in 30 minutes. Do not smoke crack. How are we supposed to listen to you when you're high as a kite? There's no way that Drake May is starting a playoff game. Now, I'm not saying there's no way. There is a path. There is a path through the wild card, and after Murderer's Row, there are some rooms. But like, if you have the likes of the Dolphins in that conversation, I like the Dolphins more than I like the Patriots.
I do too. But if you do want to build a story with
I like the Jets is equal as I like the Patriots because Justin Fields, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson. Like, what do you mean?
I do too, but Vegas disagrees with us, Buff, right?
Sure.
Vegas does have the Patriots at 8.5 wins, which if you go over just 1.5, that's a 10-win. So I agree. If you want to paint a picture how the Patriots get there, they go 4-2 in their division, right? They beat the Dolphins, they beat the Bills once at home, and they beat the Jets. If you want to paint the picture, if you want to say the Dolphins will be weak this year, which some people think, the Jets will be weak, which some people think.
We the Patriots schedule.
And then
I think that whenever you look at them, all right, and you're like, okay, so you're saying 4-2 in their division. That's
the only way they get to 10 wins, right?
No, yeah. Like I said, they get the Raiders, they got the Steelers, they get the Panthers, they get the Saints.
Okay, hold on. All right, stop right there. Right after the Saints, right? So they win at home versus the Raiders. They win in Miami, let's just say. They win at home against the Steelers, let's just say. That could be a 4-2 start. We got more breaking news coming up, but keep going. So you're right. I can see in those 6 games them starting.
All right. So I'll be honest with you. Game 1, I don't think they beat the Raiders,
and that's what I'm saying too. I agree, but
I don't think they beat the Raiders. I don't think that they take care of business against the Steelers when our boy Omar Khan rolls up into fucking New England and whoops that ass.
Yeah, I think so.
He's gonna be in the fucking suite, Javi. Wave, all right. And then after that, all right, the Titans. Okay, if you lose to the fucking Titans, you're cooked. Cam Ward beats you, but we'll give you that one. You get the Browns. Okay. You
Bradley
should beat the
Beal bought out
Browns.
by their funds. Blah. Yeah, go on, Buff.
I
Go.
don't think they beat the Falcons. I like Penix. How are you going to root against your boy Penix against your own team, Javi? How are you even going to deal with that one? You're going to sit there and be talking to him week of the game. The Patriots at the Bucks, that's a loss. I'm telling you, they might lose both games to the Jets.
Okay,
There's
but
no way
hear
they
me
beat
out.
the Bengals. Okay,
That's-
they
that-
might beat the Giants. We talked about this.
Yeah.
They might beat the Giants, but Neighbors has a big game.
Yeah.
They're not beating the Ravens. And then there we are. I don't know. I think if they're at 8.5, you could book me for 6.5, and I'm taking the under.
Yeah, I think that.
And
yeah.
of course, I'm roasting Javi right now because he's saying he's going to start a playoff game. I really disagree. And you got to make big takes if you're going to sit there and call it, especially in a division that I could give two shits about. I think that you guys get decimated. Not going to lie. Gerard Mayo, the last year I thought was a bit disappointing. I don't think your running game is going to get you there, especially if you continue to split between Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah, but Vrabel's at the helm now, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's Vrabel now, right? So I do like Vrabel. And I saw what Mayo did last year. And I still don't like, and this was my point, I don't like how Vrabel is keeping Ramondre Stevenson, right? 100%. I think that's a bad move. I don't like his fumbling. I don't like the way that you're going to have to split with him. And I don't like that fact that he can't catch. You're limiting Drake May. I feel that your receivers aren't very sexy, even though he's got running capability. I don't know. Either way, I'm down on the Patriots. Obviously, there's potential. I don't like them.
I feel like
I'm just, you know what it is? I'm so butthurt that we don't have fucking Vrabel and that the Cowboys just let another great coach go again that could just be such a great fit, because there's coaches that you want and coaches that you need. And it's not that I wanted Vrabel, but I feel like the Cowboys just needed somebody like that. And what we need is just so far different from what we're willing to do as an organization that it just befuddles me. And that's where I think that's where my disappointment comes from whenever I want to do a little self-reflection. I'm pissed off that they got him and we fucking didn't. It's just annoying.
Yeah. I also know a lot of Patriots fans, even though they like this offensive line pick, they were really hoping to get Genty. And
they should have gone Genty.
I don't know why you didn't go Genty.
And then Javi just like strokes the fucking. He's like, yeah, it's a great pick. Yeah, that's. I'm like, come on, bro. Like, just stop it.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun of it. I don't know. As much as I agree with you, the schedule is kind of favorable if you want to paint the story that the Jets and Dolphins won't be good. We disagree, but I'm trying to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. But I think
I think it's more feasible and for everyone in the general public to say the Patriots are going to be better than the Jets and the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Okay. But we know that football is played between. What is this? We got the best running back in the second round. Great job. You fucking pass on Ashton Genty forever. You'll be linked to that shit. Ask people, ask people how that works out. But either way, man, I'm looking forward to watching that AFC and how that all turns out, bro. I think it's going to be a fun year. And that was last week's conversation. We can't even talk about what we were talking about this year when it comes to the East. I know we were talking about the South, but yeah, man, it's going to be a good year in the NFL. I love the rhetoric already. Kermit the Grog would win MVP if he was a Pat. Yeah, I think maybe it was a frog, but Grog is fine too. I'm not sure.
All right,
maybe there's an inside joke there. I'm not trying to take it.
Thank you for listening.
That
was fun, man. I could talk sports all day long, man.
All day long, man. Well, we obviously baseball is going to be more on the headlines here. We're going to have only thing I didn't want to say, Oneil Cruz threw a ball from center field on a base hit 105.2 miles an hour to tag the outfield assist. The catcher made a great throw, like you said, but it was a dime. If anybody hasn't seen it, go check it out. Sean Overman, Oneil Cruz is a beast. Stop being butthurt about the trade last year. It was definitely well worth it. It was a great throw. Just telling you, he's got. Also,
Bones Jones said he'll come back and fight if the fight's at the White House.
John Jones in the White. You think Trump would be there? I would if I see this in my head, I want Trump to announce it, not Buffer. I want, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, losers of all ages, and have Donald Trump come out and give a little intro. I think it'd be amazing.
Trump would definitely be there, and it would be. I mean, Bones Jones is the baddest dude on the planet, and
outdoors on the lawn, right?
Yeah. I will never say one negative thing on the internet about Bones Jones. God forbid I ever run into the guy, because I mean, that guy, out of 8 billion people on this planet Earth, there is nobody badder than that dude. So
I don't care what you do about your personal choices and what you put in your body, if it's an accident or whatever. Go fight in the ring. If you're better than anybody else, that's all it takes. I can see why steroids and PEDs and testosterone, all the healing, can be beneficial to fighters, sure.
yeah.
But like, you're still gonna get clipped in the jaw or submissed, or there's so much that's going on there. The guy's the baddest motherfucker on the planet,
Imagine
and
just
I would love to watch him fight
yeah,
anytime he
think
fights.
about that for 1 second. Imagine just walking around like New York City, let's just say, and say there is nobody that I could beat anyone's ass right here, right now, anytime. That's like a really crazy. If you really think about being the baddest dude on the planet, because it's his weight class too, right? So
Yeah.
it's like it's just not only is he in the heavyweight division, right? Because like if you're 140 pounds, yeah, you could beat up anybody pretty much.
Sure.
But
Pound for
a
pound.
250-pound dude comes along, you're gonna get wiped, right?
Yeah.
So it's like
That was the original UFC. There was no weight class divisions. You know what I mean? It was just like the Gracies destroying dudes that were 4 times their size. But it is pretty cool, man, because as the UFC continues to go on with this, I hope he just gets paid to select fights and like comes back out of retirement and crazy
yeah.
pay-per-views, right? Like whatever, bro. I'd rather
Yeah.
watch him than Jake Paul any day.
And then also one last thing, Soto got snubbed for the All-Star game, right? That was kind of
All
exciting.
snubs. Yeah, the Phillies too, man. Like, if you look at Ranger Suarez, Trey Turner, guys have been balling. But like Ranger Suarez, the last 10 starts, he hasn't allowed more than like a run or two. And he's had quite a few shutouts, incredible strikeouts. I know it's all a popularity contest when it comes to
And
this stuff.
also, there has to be a guy from every team, right? So that's kind of
Sure.
like that's usually where the snubs come into play, because like the Marlins had to have somebody. Therefore, you keep somebody out, right?
No,
Who
yeah.
actually deserves to get in, but they try to keep it where everybody has a representative, which I don't like. I think you just let it play itself out, right? I mean,
Ronald Acuna's in the home run derby. That's going to be kind of cool.
yeah,
That's going to be awesome.
How's he been doing lately? Good.
Say it again.
How's Acuna been doing lately?
Oh, I mean, he came out as the hottest player in the league. He's kind of balanced out a little bit, but he's still incredible, dude. The guy just changed the game, rips hits, steals bases, bangs dingers. The Braves are in a middling position right now. We're still flirting with 500 and trying to get back over that hump. And obviously we can make a late run, but we just lost Schwellenbach and we're not going to get him back until something happens like that. But like, there's a lot of players. It's actually kind of exciting right now. Like Woodruff just came back and had a hell of a start after being gone for a long time last year. Bieber's on the cusp of returning. Manea's on the cusp of returning. So there's a lot of big arms that have game-changing potential, rotation-changing potential, or a lot of trades that could still be on the forefront. And you don't know what's going to happen with baseball. Pretty exciting time. There's a lot of young cats.
Was batting 331 and he has 9 home runs.
Yeah,
that's amazing. That means he's played under 40 games. I know that.
Right.
So let's say he's at 35 games, which he is. I think 35 games. Let's just do the math really quick. I mean, that's
every right? Or every 9 games, whatever.
That's a 40 to 50.
Or every 4. Yeah, every 4.
Yeah, that's a 40 to 50 home run, season. If you scale it out, and he's batting 331. He's already scored 34 runs. He has 18 RBIs, and he's actually stealing bases a little bit, 4 stolen bases, which they said he wouldn't do it all this year.
Right.
But he's probably like, you're not going to tell me what to do. I'm feeling good. But I mean,
they let him kind of rehab instead of playing him off and on last year. They slowed up his rehab and they're just kind of letting him go full bore now. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing is that he feels capable and doesn't have to take any breaks. They're playing him on back-to-backs, playing him in double headers. Like he's playing,
Yeah, I mean, you got him 41st in your draft. That's a good pick right there, considering that could be a league winner.
Yeah, bro, my team is nice in the Heaters League, man. And actually in all 3 leagues right now that I'm in, I'm actually having a lot of good luck and I'm dangerous in all of them, bro. Got a chance to win all. So that's always the goal, man. But baseball is going to be an exciting finish. Can't wait to see what shakes out. And there's going to be some cool thing. Skeens had another 5-inning shutout, 10K, still lost. It's still just the guy just has no run support. Like people are saying, Skeen's going to get traded. No way they're getting rid of him.
I know, right? I mean, Yeah, like Pittsburgh now, you have a star on with O'Neal Cruz, and you have a star with Skeens.
And they still got this other guy. His name slips right now, but like the other guy who's supposed to be coming up that Sean Overman's been holding, he's another rookie phenom that's
Yeah,
big arm, and it's going to be a 1-2. And they still had who's the other something Jones? Isn't his last name Jones
yeah,
too,
he'll
right?
be coming back pretty soon too.
And
I know.
he's another flamethrower. So they would have a very young, disgusting rotation with
But they're last in the Central. I
their
mean,
last dead last,
and
bro.
they're 8.5 games back from the next team.
Right.
They're 16.5 out of first place.
And
So
you have this insane rotation. It's amazing.
it's kind of crazy that it looks if you're like a Pittsburgh Pirate fan, you're like, man, we're gonna waste Skeens and O'Neal Cruz and not see them go into the playoffs.
This is a year and a half of his career, man. Think about that, right? He came out last year, another half he wins NL, another year just down the tubes. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like, do you if you're the Pirates and you're playing like GM, do you trade him because you could just take it's almost like you're the OKC Thunder and you're able to reset and just rape any team for all their picks, all their market, all their farm. Anybody who you want is you could literally pick 3 starters, future picks, money, all of it, right? Like, do you do that just to reset your team?
Yeah, like if you're Cashman, I mean, do you make the call? Do you say, hey, is this on the table at all? Like, we'll give you everybody and everything. Is it on the table? I don't know.
Like, isn't it interesting that the Pirates could get Aaron Judge, Max Fried, get Giancarlo Stanton, and take Rondon all straight up for Skeens in like a couple picks.
I don't know if it would be that.
I'm just naming like all amazing players, right? So,
yeah,
but it's the future of Skeens. And you already said how old Judge is, and Fried is old, and Rodon is old. So it's like, why wouldn't you if you're Cashman? And you're like, I don't know, it's Paul Skeens.
I know.
Do you take Skeens and O'Neal Cruz for all 4 of those?
Skeens and O'Neal Cruz for Max Fried, Aaron Judge. No, but
Giancarlo Stanton and Carlos.
Oh, like Stanton, you don't even put in there anymore, right? Because you just that's like
I'm just right, but you throw him in there. I mean,
yeah.
Or take who DJ LeMahieu or Volpe or like who do you want in there instead?
Talking money now too and stuff like that, but yeah, like if you're Pittsburgh,
that would be the basis of it, I guess. If you're the Yankees, you get O'Neal Cruz and Paul Skeens.
And that's why it's so hard in baseball. When you're on the bottom, we very rarely see someone go from the bottom to the top, right? It's very hard. And like,
I know it's all just like rhetoric and like conjecture, but if you're the Pirates, what do you do with those kind of assets? Do you trade them away or do you try to build and keep, doing what you're doing?
Right?
We said you're losing valuable starts, arm strength, strikes, outs from Paul Skeens.
Yeah. I'll never forget this when Miguel Cabrera was in his prime and he got hurt for the Tigers. They said the win total dropped, like the projected win total dropped 3 games. That's how little one star actually moves the needle. You know what I'm trying to say?
That's insane because he was a Triple Crown winner.
Yeah, in baseball. It wasn't a knock on Miguel Cabrera. It's just that's how baseball is. And we've already seen you could have O'Neal Cruz and Paul Skeens, and you're still the worst team in the league, right? I mean,
we have Ronald Acuna coming back, and we haven't gotten over 500 yet. And it's like he's spark plugging. We just can't figure it out,
Yeah, baseball is very tricky, and it's not just you got to really, like every sport, I guess, build the roster and all that stuff.
But yeah, that explains I know we started because talking about the snubs. I know there's people that get snubbed every year and players that are deserving of it and whatnot. Do you have anybody in mind that you think was like egregiously snubbed?
Soto got so hot late. I think he got snubbed because he was so slow early, but now I think he's at like 21 home runs, which is crazy because he was at like 8 last month or something. And he's getting real hot. Yeah, I mean, our executive producer had a show like a year ago, I remember, and they had an idea. How do you make the All-Star game count? And their idea was make the losers pay. So like it would be like, hey, if you lost, you got to pay 50 grand. Each player has to pay 50 grand or something like that.
Right. Something
or
like that.
25,000, right?
Sure.
It goes to charity or whatever you want to do. And you'll see guys actually wanting to play then, right? And
No,
it's
it's true. That's a great point and a great idea. And baseball is so lenient with their changes that they can do, man.
yeah,
That's
how do you
actually
make
a good
right?
idea.
I kind of liked it when they had it where the winner got the home field advantage, because then you watched it, right? As a Yankee fan, I watched it because every
Yeah.
year we were in contention, and you saw guys, you saw Jeter and guys actually kind of like, hey, we want Game 7 at home if God forbid that
Exactly
happens.
right. It's a big deal.
They said that was too much weight, right? So it's
Yeah.
you go back and forth, and with the amount of money on the line now, All-Star games will never be what they used to be, and that's just the way life goes. And I'm okay with it, I guess.
I'm okay with it. Doesn't matter to me.
All right,
I'll watch it. I know that if I were to sit there and predict it now, the AL usually snakes it. They've been dominant over the last 2 decades. It's always tough for the NL to like produce, runs. I feel like we can never hit the AL good pitching or whatnot when it comes to the NL. If I'm gonna call the All-Star game now, I would say AL wins it 6-5, close, something like that. And then home run derby. Yeah, I'll give it to Acuna. I think the way the guy's hitting, I mean, which I don't want Acuna to win because I feel like there's a jinx every time that the player wins. Like they like lose their swing, like for the remainder of the season and whatnot. So I hope that maybe he doesn't. But I can see if Acuna's in it, bro. I'm telling you right now, that dude, watching him play batting practice is just ridiculous, let alone go out there and do this for a time limit. So I'm excited to watch him.
It was so crazy. It was like 5 years ago. Barbie booked a trip down to Miami and had no idea when she booked it like a year in advance, because she works for Hyatt, the whole free room thing, that she booked it for 2 nights, the night of the All-Star game and home run derby when it was in Miami. So we went down there, went to the home run derby, and that's when Judge just went ham and was going like, we've never seen a guy go like dead center for that many home runs, and it was so cool to watch. And yeah, I mean,
cool ballpark. They got a lot of things going on in the background and whatnot. Miami's fun.
Yeah, I like the home run derby structure a little bit now, but I wish they would go back to the 10 outs.
Sure.
But I do like that when you hit a ball like further, like then you get more. That's kind of fun.
More time, yeah, the time limit thing.
Bonus thing, but I like the 10 out thing. I wish they would go back to the 10 outs, but still keep the deep home run bonus as a. And also a shout out to Rebecca Seeger and Tony Tracy had their baby born healthy, blah blah blah. 4th of July baby.
I think it's Cade Matthew, I think, or something, right?
Yeah, Cade Matthew Tracy.
Cade Matthew Tracy, man. I'm gonna tell you what, right now, if you want to place a futures bet, that kid's gonna hit home runs. I'm gonna tell you, book it right now on the Tracy baby. Future Major League All-Star, kids hitting bombs. Both his parents, super athletic. Both his parents, absolutely All-American, beautiful, great people, great families, and I'm glad to see some love and blessings go upon them because they've had a, crazy few years, man. Good to see some good love.
Yeah, for sure. Gold medal or bust for that kid. But all right, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next Monday.
Prop Stars out, man. TJ and Buff, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Peace.